I want you to cut that there. If you could cut that.
Oh yeah, by the way,
Dennis.
Geoff is directing me. That's that's the new thing. I'm only exclusively hiring guests that are going to direct me because I suck at this.
All right. Stand by two. Take two.
All right, action. Welcome to another edition of Dirty Work here on YouTube. My name is Dennis, and today I have a very, very special guest, a long-standing friend of mine, a person that I've known for over 30 years. Today we're here to talk to him and the thing that he is very passionate about. Without further ado, let me introduce my friend Geoff. Geoff, say hello.
Hello.
Geoff, why don't you tell me what you do? What is the company that you've started?
Well, I am a freelance dancer and full-time rapper. No, I am a co-owner of a gardening company called the littlegardencompany.ca, and my partner and I started the business back in 2017. We go in and clean up people's gardens and put in new gardens and all sorts of stuff with nature, man. Like just wonderful things that we do.
It's great. And I started following your Instagram, which has beautiful before and after shots and just beautiful work is shown. So we'll definitely get back into that later. But you and I have known each other since are you sitting down? Yes, you're sitting down. We have known each other for almost 35 years. Can you believe that?
Wow.
I moved there in 1988, so it was grade 5.
Ah, Mr. Bianchi's Chess Club. Were you in that?
You are no. I wasn't in the chess club. I was there too late. I love how not only do you have the guy's name, but you have like his specialty, the chess club.
Yeah, one of my first experiences in learning something and consecutively losing my entire life. So, I am not a chess player. But thanks for trying, Mr. Bianchi.
Yeah, thanks for trying to teach us all how to be more strategic individuals. It didn't take in every case. So Geoff and I met in grade school, and with our friendship, we've like known each other for so long. I've always thought of my friendship with you as kind of a touchstone, where you and I, at different points of our own self-discovery, kind of like all of a sudden just ran into each other again and then became fast friends again. And it happened multiple times in 3 decades.
This is what, the fourth time or fifth time now?
Something like that. It's just, like you have those friends where it's almost like you're in a science fiction movie and one of you goes to another planet. And then you're in a raider mission and all of a sudden you're helped by that long lost friend. It's like like that's how it feels sometimes. So some highlight statements without getting into too many details. Geoff and I have played in a band together. We have played basically Little League Baseball together. We've done all sorts of things that preteens and teens do together, like from games to hanging out to to getting into stupid trouble. And now we are, well, men of a certain age, and it's actually been when you and I started talking about what you do now, I just found it fascinating, and I guess this leads me to this question because you've always been somebody who's managed to surprise me, no matter how many times you surprised me. So what got you into gardening? Like, what attracted you initially to gardening in all of its forms?
Well, my partner, my lovely life partner, Dawn, she has a background, quite an extensive background in gardening. She's an original Torontonian. She was born in T-Dot, had an early life that was reminiscent of Kids of Degrassi Street, if you will. And went to Florida for high school and came back here, studied forestry. She's the expert of all things flora and fauna. As far as you mentioned Instagram and stuff, like my background is media. So I sort of took over that side of it. It's two avenues that we brought together, and we were like, okay, well, we've had all these like life-changing events that happened to us that were beyond our control and pretty tough to get through, both individually and collectively. And you know, we were in our own little tribe, weird little group. We decided, you know what, let's just start something from scratch. Let's grow food. And so you know, I lost my sister and my father, and the healing part of that was like shutting everything off, you know, not talking to anybody, and just going down to like the core of myself and figuring out like how I want to contribute in the next chapter of my life, man. Like my dad was my guy, you know, like you had any problems or whatever, like you have somebody you can talk to, he was my guy. And then all of a sudden he was gone. So, you know, so it was like a long soul journey. And the ice storm that we had 2015 or something like that, it took out a major tree in our backyard and we had to get it removed. And then we just converted that into a small little garden to grow stuff in. And I started to grow peppers and just basic sort of things. And I was amazed the connection. And so Don and I looked up how we could turn this into a business. And at the time, Don was working year-round at a farm. I was just sort of doing odd jobs and stuff. So we did some research. We found a community market that was also offering land to grow stuff on. So we were like, all right,
that's fantastic.
You know, let's go out. Let's go grow food for the community. So we went out and we took this plot of land, and we had no idea what we were doing. We were just going to like... instantly the food was going to be grown, and we were going to have it in our stand selling it. Like it just, you know, we were really, really, really green. And so we planted up the plot, and with all intentions of growing it and selling it back to the community in Mississauga.
Right.
And the thing was, it was in Mississauga and we're in Brampton. So it was like hard to get out there and tend to the plot every day. So we pretty much lost all the crop. But in the meantime, we were like, okay, well, we have to figure out other solutions. I'm getting to the point here. We were meeting with different customers that were coming to the market, and we were starting to hear stories about autoimmune diseases and health issues that people were having, and like that they really needed organic, like non-spray, no chemicals, no garbage, just like local, healthy food. And so that sort of kept us honest, and we started going out and finding the growers that were producing that, and we built up a network of like eco-certified organic farmers growing around Caledon and Brampton and Mississauga and stuff like that. We started to make partnerships with them where we would resell their stuff, and we started taking on so many markets. We were doing like, you know, hundreds of markets a year.
Right.
Just really, really, really going big. And then we got, I think the third year, we were in an entrepreneurship program, the accelerator program, and through the Brampton Entrepreneurship Center. And they were excellent with helping us. We got a grant, and that sort of helped us. We got a spot at the Brampton Farmers Market. Like after seeing all the farmers markets, the Brampton Farmers Market is like the Lollapalooza. It's like 5,000 people every week. So, you know, we had to step up our game really quick, and we did. And then, you know, just meeting with people, like percentages of the 5,000 people that were walking through, whoever would stop and talk, like everyone has a story.
Right.
And you learn about the community, you learn about the hardships that they are going through right now. And, you know, it puts it all into perspective. And then from that, COVID came, and they started to change the regulations of who could come through the market and how many people. And we were just watching our produce wilt as like one customer who was allowed in would walk down, and we were like, we got to make some changes here. We can't do this. And so we were also doing like gardening and landscaping. Dawn had previously worked on like the richest people in Ontario, like their properties. So she knew like grand scale hardscaping, you know, all that stuff. And so we basically made a call to stop the market, stop throwing money away. And then we went right into, then literally the next day, the phone started ringing, and it's been ringing ever since. The jobs have all been really cool, and
it's a very, like the way that you summarize that in the last little few minutes is very interesting, because it's like you started with one thing in mind and circumstances made you pivot, but your ability to adapt. I mean, I'm not saying you were just sitting there, oh, that's fine, we'll just change to this, but like, because, you know, it's a long enough timeline.
Kind of we were. Like,
yeah.
have to be adaptable. Like, we had to be. Like, there's a picture on our Instagram. If you scroll all the way down to the very beginning, there's a picture of Don and I standing there, like two little pups. And,
I think I've seen that. I've seen that one for sure. Yeah.
We've got some rhubarb in front of us. That's it. That's all we could source for the market. So we were selling like rhubarb. Fast track to 2 years later, and we're setting up with like the big dogs, the people who've been vending at the Brampton Farmers Market for 40 years since it opened. And I remember when it was over on this street, you know, like the people who had like, you know, the Walmarts of the farmers market. We went head to toe with them, and we, right. You know, we became friends. But
you had to show your bona fides, really, you know, in a weird way. Like basically, I'm bringing a good product. I'm a good seller. People, you know, like, I'm not going to undercut people. I'm just going to show good product, and people are going to buy it, and I'll be a good partner vendor, sort of thing. That makes sense.
When you set the course of your business towards integrity, then
it's amazing what happens. Yeah.
Pretty easy to make choices. So.
Yeah, it sounds like almost like a lot of your ups and downs were in a very condensed time period, because it's really only been a little over 5 years that you've been doing this business, but you've made some good strides, some leaps and bounds. COVID is a major setback in almost everyone's business, including the one I work in, and, you know, on a daily basis. You know, it's completely send ripples through the supply chain across all different goods and services. And you pivoted with the restrictions kind of being now either over or mostly being ignored by most people, to be honest. Are you planning on going back into the produce, the fruits and vegetables, the organic food, or do you want to stick with the landscaping side of things and the beautification side of things? Like, do you want to make it a two-pronged business, or do you want to concentrate it in one market?
So what we did is we consolidated that side of it. So the beauty is Brampton's so multicultural. And Don and I are pretty hosers. Like, you know, we can get into hockey talk pretty quick. You know, to go to a South Asian family or something, there's like trust that you have to break through. And but we go to these places and they want to grow food, but they want to grow food that's back from India, you know, like bitter melon or meti or something like that. And these are all things that we learned at the farmers market, like the different terms for them and how to grow them. Gardens growing in different Eastern European style growing, like different styles. And so we really want to encourage that with our side of the business. And healthy eating, absolutely healthy lifestyle choices. And then what we do is we also hire youngsters. So they've got the energy and they're eager. It's so surprising to see them want to learn how to grow a tomato or, you know, any of that stuff. And then by the end of the season, I can talk more in depth about that, the staff that we've hired.
Yeah, no, please do. I mean, anyway, like, the floor is yours. You could talk about whatever you like here. This is your time.
Going back to your initial question, no, we're not going back to the markets. We do some market things, like we participate in Earth Day events and that sort of stuff. We've always been under the mindset, think globally, act locally. We've actually really refined it now this year, and we're really going into the community. Brampton is changing like crazy. Brampton Vision 2040, it's one of the first new developed cities in Canada that's coming out right across the nation. We have an active say in community environmental alliances and that sort of thing. So
right.
We're bringing it more to community and promoting growing your own food. There's other organic sellers and stuff. They're good, honest people and stuff like that, but the costs are getting to be a lot. So, you know, if you could subsidize that by growing some of your own food, then why not? Yeah. That's one side of our business. So from here until right up until about June, we do a lot of garden cleanups and like clear up all like just the dead shit. And and we put the produce seedlings in. Some customers, that's it. Like, we planted up their garden, they tend to it for the rest of the year. Other people, they work with us, or their kids come out and they learn how to properly plant and what to look for. So that leads me to, just on the floor, I'll just tell you about our staff. There's so many things that you can't, that like I did not anticipate with our business. Like, it was Don and I sort of against the world. If it didn't work, well, we had no other choice but to go somewhere to do something, right? And we started to get work going every day, man, just hard physical labor. I was getting into like good shape and everything. And then I broke my hip. You know, I'm still recovering from that. That was about 4 years ago. So some days it's tougher to walk. So we needed to figure out solutions. And so we ended up just hiring extra staff. And we've had, now we're operating at about 10 people. I think we're looking to hire this year. And last year we hired one guy who came with us, didn't know which end of the shovel to use, and now he was in high school. Now he's setting up a garden club at your old high school. He's fast tracking to get into forestry. He's working into like all that avenue, like just nature called him. And one young lady who she's in her last year of school to be an international forensic investigator specialist, whatever. We have a lawyer. Like we vet all our staff, right? And you're out in the trenches every day. You know, you're doing literally digging dirt. You're literally in the trenches every day. So you got to make sure that you know your group of people is happy to be there and they're just enjoying themselves, and that's what makes it successful. And you know, at the beginning of the season, the kid who doesn't know how to, you know, which end of the shovel to use, by the end of the season, he's completely overhauling a garden and doesn't need to be watched closely or anything because he's doing like a really solid job. You can't quantify that from our side. We're so proud of all our staff. We're our own weird tribe, and no one on the corner's got swagger like us. So, you know, if you want to be in the group, then you got to bring something to the table, but it doesn't necessarily have to be gardening. It just has to be the willingness to work hard and get up and enjoy yourself, enjoy sunlight, enjoy nature.
Yeah. So. Or, you know, or have a really cool career aspiration like forestry, film, or forensic investigation. Otherwise, you know, if you want to be a banker, just go F yourself.
Go bank.
Go bank. This is all, it's really great. And also, you're the most appropriate guest for my show name, considering you work in dirt. Welcome to Dirty Work. And this is a segue to my next question. What's the most dirty or disgusting job, in your opinion, in an average day? If you think of like some of the most disgusting, gross, like shock me, tell me how dirty it gets.
It gets dirty, man. Like I went
dirty.
I went from boardrooms and like, you know, sitting in like standing around very famous people and stuff, and like to like now I wear overalls that are just covered in shit, not literal shit, but dirt,
but stuff.
I just look dirt, and I love it, you know. So as far as like the dirtiest jobs, I don't know. There's some rental properties that sometimes like the owner doesn't know the state of the property, and you know, maybe there's some illicit activity going on in the backyard that doesn't make for a nice cleanup. And so we have to be cautious of that stuff. But
sure,
for the most part, yeah, it's just gross when you have to step into like half a foot of water to get some mucky thing out or whatever. But you know, by like at the beginning of the season, like you get a little bit of mud on your boot and you're like, oh, it's icky outside. And, you know, by the end of the season, like my bed is like a nice dirt sheen on it, and just because I'm just, you know, but you know, if
you're like elbow deep in worms, you know. Yeah,
that's it, man.
Yeah,
you have to approach the garden with respect. People think I'm nuts when I say this, but say you got a big overgrown rose bush or something, talk to it. You don't talk to the rose bush, it'll let you know where it is. And so like, you know, you'll end up with a thorn in your cheek or something. And but if you just let the rose know, I'm just going to cut you here so you can breathe, so you can have a little more space or something, no cuts, you know. There's so much magic in nature, and like on our team, they all see it. They all, like, everyone has like a story of an encounter with an animal or just a magical experience with a flower that seems ridiculous to somebody else. There's so much magic that goes on in there. And then, you know, you hear the polarizing narrative going on out in the world of like, you know, this is my opinion, no, this is mine, and you're on the wrong side now. And like, but that doesn't happen in the garden, man. And just get in there, throw in some badass music, and just, you're in another place, you're in another dimension. And that's what's real in my world. That's where the realness happens. When we first started gardening side, we got a call from this man who wanted help growing Indian vegetables in his backyard, and he'd been trying, and his father had been doing it for the longest time, but it wasn't really his jam. So we went over, and I met Grandpa, and he came outside, and he was still like pretty sharp. Every time I would go leave the car or whatever, he'd go, to the Creator for you, and he provided. I'm so thankful. And what do you say, right? And so anyway, that would happen, and he'd come down and crack the whip once in a while, and then the son would say, don't worry about him. He's, and he is had cognitive decline in the past, in the next 2 years. But we just saw that family, like, they would every once in a while talk about like the ties to Bollywood, and sure enough, we go and check it out, and it's like, no, they're literally this one dynasty family on Wikipedia about Bollywood. And we're reading about the players right now, and we're in their yard. The last time I talked to Grandpa, because he had just kept repeating that to me, like, I talked to the Creator for people like you, and thank you. And this is years. Every time we go, like, he would just say that. And then, like, I didn't know how to say it back to him, but like I really felt power, like spiritual power and connection with this family. And so I said to him, when we started, as a response to that, I said, when we first started, I prayed for people like you, and the Creator provided. So thank you. And he went, and then he never spoke to me again. And then he died like about a year later, and I watched all sorts of magical transformations happen with this family that was like deep into the Hindu faith, and just like we would tend to follow the rules of Vastu Shastra, or which is like I don't know, kind of a layman term, like feng shui gardening, like it's deliberate gardening for certain things, and certain gods enjoy certain things. We would plant different trees and flowers depending on the deity stuff, and then they would offer the flowers for puja, for the prayer. And we watched this magical transformation happen between Grandma and Grandpa as they moved over to the other side, and we were there with it, and it was, it was pretty, it got you. And we've had that, like, similar experiences in different properties for reasons, and because of that, I feel like we're in the right energy, and
absolutely.
It's tough because we're unfortunately in the business where we lose customers, but you pick up and move on. Here we are, we're 3 weeks away. I don't know what this season entails. I do know that our phones have been ringing quite a bit from people who want to work for us.
That's great.
We've teamed up with designers now that just go out and actively look for stuff for us to do, and it's just grown so organically. And mentioning the banks too, like we worked so hard to like not commit ourselves to a loan or any of that stuff. And so everything that we've done with our business has just been a slow, organic snowball. Just keep rolling it. We did this market today. We ended up making $20, put it forward, and just keep going. Everything is learning. And
right. Absolutely. What you're talking about is actually a good segue into my next question, which is a little broader. You've done this for a few years now. What do the seasons look like? So in the winter time, it's essentially a down period. Is that right? Like, and now you're sort of, you're ramping up for, to meet the start of spring to get all the soldiers equipped. So like, if you think about it, like a little bit like rock and roll, like, you got your band going, you're ready to go on tour, you're ready to go on the road or whatever. Right. And so you're all eager, you got your shiny new guitars and stuff. And you get going and you start playing some things, and then before you know it, like you've been on tour for 6 months
and you don't know what city you're in, and like you just know you have to rock out tonight. And so that's sort of what it's like for the summer, especially now. Like we do manage a lot of properties, so from the early spring we have some properties that we're very familiar with, that we know what to do and go in. And then summer shit grows, man. Like it just like new thing, we put in new things like produce, for example, and you watch a seedling turn into a food producing plant, and then our job becomes like making sure that we get rid of weeds and help things grow, and then
protect the plant, basically.
Right. And then at the end of the year, from about November to December, we wind down, thankfully, because it's like so cold. But we're still gardening, like probably 2 weeks before Christmas is generally when we do our last little, okay, that's it. And then, I've just been sitting in wait for the past few months. We haven't really pushed it that much yet, but Dawn does take care of like inside living walls and stuff like that. So we do have year-round work now that we're trying to build towards.
So what kind of off-season work are you kind of looking to specifically get into?
Well, for me, it's always sort of been just like odd jobs, like nothing really related to the business. That's sort of that's how we made ends meet, and then just doing research for the next year is a big part of it, right? And like learning new little tricks and life hacks. So Dawn does a lot of the indoor living plants and stuff, just making sure that the stuff isn't dead. And like there's a lot of pressure. The one that she's actually at today, the plant is like a big Tulsi plant, holy basil plant, and it was a gift from a mother who had passed, and it's half living right now. So Dawn's gone over to go and rescue it and treat it and tend to like a whole vining system that's up all through this woman's living room. We're trying to increase that. We have more year-round plants that we tend to, and but I mean that's not our big part of it. For me, I do a lot of spiritual growth in the off season. I do a lot of meditating, healing up, light yoga, that sort of stuff. If anyone wants to hire a guy who's doing light yoga and playing some PlayStation, I'm
here to be your muse. I'm just here to lightly stretch and play my PlayStation. I like that though. Yeah, you can mill yourself out. You make a few extra bucks just being a muse. That works.
Yeah. No,
you're pretty.
I do like every once in a while. I do like I'll do a website for somebody else's company, and
right.
That'll hold keep the ball in the air for a little bit for me. So
sure. So obviously spring and summer that's go time. That's on season. And the autumn, like, I mean, when I was even looking through your Instagram, there's sort of fall planters and stuff like that I see you guys do, but obviously it's going to ramp down, basically once September, October hits. Is that right? Or does it go all the way until it snows for you?
Just about the only that we don't do that often would be the Easter planters. But we do, Christmas planters for sure. Dawn hits a ton of properties. We'll just go and like I'll help her out depending on which one it is, or the staff will go with her. But it's pretty much just calm from Christmas until spring. And then when spring happens, we hit some of our corporate customers first, and we do like a seasonal change in their garden and clean it all up for spring, and then summer and fall. So we do follow the seasons with certain things. Yeah. And I don't really think about the planters because we just do so much other stuff. But planters is a big part of our business. I'd be foolish to let that go.
We've been talking sort of more broadly about the sort of like the business and an average year looks like. Why don't we go a little bit more focused in on the timeline? And let's say it's a nice day in spring. Why don't you walk me through an average day on the job? Like you wake up And like, how does it go for you? Like usually, or, you know, and whether it's an average daily thing, or even if it's different every day in terms of finding your process, in terms of finding the grains of sand in that day. I'm just curious what it's like. Like, so walk me through a day.
Well, most part, I'm up early. I'm up 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning. I do the idiot Facebook scroll. You know,
the morning doom scroll. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the coffee kicks in, and like sometimes I'll get on the bike, sometimes exercise bike, sometimes I'll do meditation. For sure it involves music, man. Like I wake up and I might have only been up for 5 minutes, but at 4:45 I've got like you know, some pretty badass loud music playing in my head. And then, you know, we go out, we get all the tools ready, all the crew assembles. So sometimes crew comes with us, sometimes crew meets us on site. We get to the site, we run through everything with the different jobs and tasks that people need to do, and break off into teams and start the work. And then usually at around then, so that would be, you know, we start anywhere from 7:30 to 8:30 in the morning. And the sun's a lot easier to deal with if you start with it when it's cooler and you warm up with it. But sometimes the high noon heat here is like,
yeah, it's brutal,
right under a magnifying glass. So we have to call it. So, you know, so some days, usually my days are only maximum, I'm working till about 3, and then home and start to think about dinner and that sort of stuff. It's a pretty simple life I live, man. No.
That's good though.
And that's the key, right?
Yeah, no, it is the key. I think I don't necessarily live that kind of life, but I find it pretty fascinating that you do. You know, considering we're pretty much the same age, it's an interesting thing to watch this process, because I wake up at 6, you know, and I usually work a 12-hour day, and then, you know, I try to relax and, you know, get like a workout in, and, you know, then I sleep for about 6 hours and do it again for a few days. And then my non-work days, I'll do stuff like this. This is part of the reason why I started this podcast, was I want to start reaching out to friends and connecting and really sort of understand people on a deeper level, which is why I'm actually very, very overjoyed that you took this opportunity to talk to me. So yeah, no, it's great. I'm enjoying it a lot. My question leading out of that is, how would you say that the acts of gardening and landscaping and growing your own food has contributed to your sense of self, especially in terms of how you've sort of made other changes as well, maybe even a spiritual side? You sort of alluded to that earlier.
Yeah, well, absolutely. Like, wow, my perspective in life has changed so much, and I never really had a viewpoint that the masses had. I literally planted a seed and had food on my plate, you know, and like there's no bigger metaphor in life than that. And so if you can throw a seed in the ground and you can watch this raggedy ass plant grow and do its thing and neglect it, then, you know, you're not going to enjoy the fruits of its labor. But if you take the time and water it, care for it and stuff, then you're going to have the most incredible food. And I feel like that can roll out to other aspects in life. And right now our world is so down, man. Like, everyone is really feeling, you know, a pinch in some way or another. And like, gardening costs nothing. Well, it costs to hire us. It
costs something, but
yeah. But no, for you to go outside, for an individual to go outside and just sit with nature, like, I don't know, man. I know I sound like such a hippie. I got the long hair and stuff, but like, the way I feel about the OG hippies, a good chunk of them let us down, because they had a good vision and then they all went the technocratic way. And, you know,
that's an interesting side. That's an interesting side conversation. Maybe we'll talk about that in a sec.
Oh yeah, sure, man. As long as I don't burn bridges, because I still have friends who are old hippies, but those are the ones that have the same sort of vision, you know, like that, you know, we should be eating healthy. We should be like, physical labor in nature is a lot different than physical labor inside a factory. And you know, and that's the beauty of what we're doing too, is that every property is a different thing every day. So it's new problems, thing. Um, you know, it's arms day today because it's all rocks. So everyone starts at the beginning of the season with these flabby little arms, and at the end we're all like ready to join some wrestling group, probably amateur, but to join some wrestling organization anyway. So
we won't burn any bridges. I think it's more of a sense of generations. The spirit of a hippie, the spirit of, you know, doing what you do, which is very much, and yeah, I'll give you the capital H hippie. Sure. Why not? Because it's just a label, right? But you're living off land. You're contributing, you know, you're basically planting seeds, you're harvest crops, you are beautifying, you know, like little swaths of land, and you are doing an honest day's work. You know, at that point, it's a self-contained life. Like, I mean, I don't feel that you're hurting anyone. I feel that you're helping people. So that's a communal hippie sort of ideal. I think where the idea of, yeah, that's right, peace and love. Maybe the hippies just kind of cashed in their cards and kind of became full-blown boomers. And, you know, like, not that it's a class war, but it's more like once a life kind of made its change, it's like, okay, so it was more just about the beads and the you know, maybe the free love and the drug, and not necessarily about the connection to the planet, which is, that's kind of the spirit of it. And so it's not like I'm calling out people for selling out. You can sort of balance that. You don't necessarily have to sell all the way out. You can still keep a connection. And a big kudos to you guys for.
Oh, sure. I'm older now, man. Like I get that. Like, go make money. Like,
you're not working for free. You're not working for free either. I mean, it's good. It's a business, but it's a trade. It's like any good business. It's a trade of essentially goods for services. You know, like you're getting paid for your labor. Your sweat equity is turning into, you know, a way to feed your family and a way to live your life in peace.
Right. And, you know, like, what differentiates from like a landscape company that you would hire, like, you go online and you got a picture of a guy in khaki pants and a golf shirt. Like, that's not what you're hiring with us. And we've got knowledge. Like, a lot of those things are designed around like killing, right? Like cutting shit down, hacking stuff, you know, not all of it, but like, you know, there's some really excellent landscapers out there. I'm not dogging the industry or anything, but like, there is a side of it where it's a very like corporate side. With us, we're self-contained and we're knowledgeable and we're in it for the right reasons. It's not about going to a property, hitting 15 properties today and making as much bank as you can. You know, like, it's not about that. It's about staying on one property, the best job. And that's really the integral part of our business. And we have to translate that with what we do. And it shows. We leave customers' houses, and like, I don't know. I meant, like, I was thinking about like this podcast, and I was thinking about like a cool story I could tell, you know, about my experience. And like, so when I was in one of my old bands, we went down to Brazil and we played this festival, and I had like worked, basically just went to the airport, flew overnight, got there, got to this like fucking, it's filled with teenagers and like insane amount of people, like probably just under 10,000 people. And the first night we went, and we were like, you know what, we're gonna do this. And we were playing 2 nights. And the first night, literally everyone turned their back and started to walk out of the venue during our show. And we had to go back to the drawing board and go, this is not like a art house kind of audience here. This is like a audience that's young and has energy. So we went back and we changed our set. And the next night, like, we each had our own security guards. People were ripping the backstage walls off to get to us. Like, it was pandemonium what we created. And so it's like, if you can stand there and play guitar as everyone's leaving, and like just plugging their ears and stuff, like just doing everything that you're like, wow, I took 11 hours to get here. And you know, you're not interested at all. And then the next night to have like people screaming and ripping out your clothes and shit. Like, it was pretty wild. So I use that theory when it comes to our business. Like, you know, like I've faced 10,000 people on stage turning their backs to me. So I know what rejection on a mass level is. So let's take that knowledge and turn it into positive. And that's that, you know, it gives you the foresight when approaching anything for that sort of thing, to put it in perspective. So
oh yeah, like a humility lesson like that will kind of like teach you all matters of perspective. Like because you'll learn that maybe what you have in your head is not what anyone else wants to see. And that's not a bad thing. It's just a learning experience, really. It's like, what do I do to adapt to this situation? What can I do to make it better? And if I can't make it better, what can I do next time to make it better? You know, and that's honestly, that like lessons like that. I mean, I didn't learn quite the same way, but I've learned some lessons through mistakes, and that is invaluable. Like all of your successes, you don't learn at one iota more than you would from one big setback. Like the setbacks are always things that give you that sense of, okay, I need to change up. I need to give myself the ability to pivot on this. You know, that's a great thing. It's a great thing. So
that's why, like, going into this season, like we're like, that's the other thing too, is our phone is ringing now to come and do site inspections, give them quotes now, and we're like, we can't really see. It's still snow. We'll be there first, but in the past that didn't happen. So, you know, it's the universe is saying, hey, you're doing something right too. You know, so
definitely. So as we're sort of winding down, sort of like encapsulating a lot of the previous questions and the previous answers. Do you feel that what you're doing now is closer to your true calling? Really, like it's not a simple yes or no question. It's really a invitation to sort of like, do you feel that what you're doing now is just next pivot, or do you feel that this is kind of what you could be doing in perpetuity?
I'm not sure. I mean, like, person who always wants to learn and grow, and this is the longest job I've ever worked at in my life, and longest company I've ever worked for, the longest stretch. And I'm interested in growing. Certainly this given me the entrepreneurial business mind spirit. And I am now working on auxiliary things, because, you know, when it was required for me to be in the garden every day at a property, now we've got 3 people, not that I was that good, but we've got 3 people that can fill those shoes and do other things. So so that gives me a little bit of a space back. And so I am, like, you know, I do study and grow spirituality and stuff like that. And it's so that's a side of it that I'm really interested in the future. If I can bring it together, you know, for like sensory gardens and different gardens that are for different reasons, you know, like that is sort of the direction that we're going right now. And I don't know, if you had asked me 4 years ago if I'd be working on the properties and doing the scope of projects that we're doing now, like, no, we have blueprints and stuff. It's not like we have spec sheets that we have to go back to and we drop, and it's kind of gotten away now. It's 6 years and it's growing, and our intention is still to continue to grow and have more visibility in the community, and help to contribute to the positive of society. And that's sort of been the goal from the beginning, even though we didn't know the destination. So to answer your question, I never know the destination, man. I never know what direction I'm going or how it's going to work out. And I find that way, because if I sit and I worry about things, then there's no direction except worry. So I turn it off and let God provide me with the solution, you know, the pathway. And it's magical. Last year we worked with a public library to get like a community learn to grow area in, so they could grow different plants and learn to grow food and stuff. I mean, like, these are all like, you're talking about lockdown, on a government's property, their crew, and everyone's locked down in their house. We were still out on Mada's property and still working away, and like, it was like nothing going on. So like, I know that it was pretty shitty for a lot of people, and but for us, it kind of provided the catalyst for change that we needed to make. So
definitely. Well, I feel that no matter what life throws your way, you will usually find a creative and, in a lot of cases, innovative way to kind of turn on that dump and make some crops out of some seeds. And I guess I just wanted to say that, I've known you for a long time. I am very happy to see you doing this, doing what you're doing and doing this well. As a, fellow graduate of Cardinal Newman, primary school, I guess I just wanted to extend my love to you and tell you that, I am very, very happy that you've taken this time to speak with me and share your life in this new iteration. This now makes about 7 different ways that I've known you as a person in 30 some odd years. So let's go for another 7 before we're really old and really gray. So I expect to start something even weirder by the time we're like, let's say 55, and then see how that goes.
I really appreciate that, Dennis, and genuinely, I share the same sentiment. I love the fact that you're doing this. This is completely in your wheelhouse. I was so excited to do this and pretty nervous. But I will say one thing. The one thing that's been consistent in our friendship has been music.
Yep.
And we've hardly talked any music snobbery, and I know that you're a music snob asshole, and I am as well, and we come from different schools, and some of my favorite bands, some of my favorite albums have come from your influence, and it was funny because, like, growing up, I was a huge Sonic Youth fan. You were a huge Stereolab fan. We went to go see Stereolab and Sonic Youth play together, and it was kind of like I worship Stereolab now. Everything about it.
Yeah.
And Interpol, and I had a couple other people that I wanted to just shout out, because I think that that's a trend that you should continue on your thing. But on your last one, you shot out Timothy Leary. That would have been one of ours for sure. Kurt Cobain for sure. I'm wearing a Nirvana shirt. Trust me. Nice. And I would shout out Terrence McKenna is a big one for us. Culture is not, and Flaming Lips would be a good one. DMX is always good in the garden, man. You need to move a rock. Holy smokes.
Yeah.
He'll come in.
Oh, you know what? Honestly, sometimes the right soundtrack to a moment is one of those things that is irreplaceable. Like, sometimes you have to have the right sounds in your head in order to get things moving. One musical shout out for me was actually a shout out to when you and I were at the Silver Dollar in Toronto, the original Silver Dollar. And I purposely wore a shirt that you and I did we did a cover on stage, and somebody took photographic evidence of it. But I'm going to pop a picture of this, like in the video. I'm wearing this shirt, which is, I was deep scrolling through your Facebook yesterday, and I actually found a photo of you and I doing a cover on stage, and I was wearing this shirt. And so I thought it was kind of, it's bizarre, but that's from like 16 years ago now. So even how many years? Sorry? I think it was like in 2007, so about 16 years. Wow. Yeah, so it was a while back, like 15 years ago at least. So I just wanted to at least kind of throw that out there too. I just sometimes you keep a piece of clothing for a long time and then it calls out to you on the right day,
I guess so. All my clothes, man, are all old. I don't have any. I get new t-shirts, but like any new clothes I'm going to buy is just so that I can be cool in the summer. So I'm wearing like douchey tank top stuff, but gets good sun coverage. So
damn right. I think for our friendship going forward, there will still be more music to share, more sort of little nuggets to share. And honestly, you're welcome back to talk anytime, even just in private. We can just hang out.
I just wanted to shout out to Sarah Ebe and Lamela Rodriguez, my Chicana raptresses. I don't know how to say it. If my Latin and Latina rappers, man, they're good in the garden too. Sarah Ebe, Lamela Rodriguez. I've been her for 15 years, and I only started studying Spanish in the past few years just so I could learn what her songs were about. And yeah, man, now I know. Now I know the story about the girl who wants to sell drugs like her father in the pause. So
hey, family businesses,
but yeah.
Man. Especially you who comes from a line of entrepreneurs. Like, honestly. Like that's, if anything, that makes you connect to that song even more. Doesn't matter what the work is.
There you go. Well, that's it, man. Just I'll send you some of those songs after. Pretty sure this isn't in your wheelhouse, but they're pretty badass. So
my wheelhouse is very large and very broad. I don't turn away much, even as a snob. Well, Geoff O'Brien, longtime friend and wonderful guest. Thank you for joining Dirty Work and sharing your story. I wish you all the best. I hope your crops grow beautifully. I hope the plants that you work with all cooperate. I hope that when you speak to the rose bushes that they tell you nice things back. And above all else, peace and love to you.
Thank you very much for having me. All the best with this show. And yeah, man, we'll catch up next time you're in town or whatever.
Yeah, definitely. All right, see you again.
All right, brother.
All right.
You can put that in if you want. Oh, it's my agent.
Saved by the bell.
Jesus, I look like an old teacher, eh? I didn't know my hair looked like that because I don't have either. So
you look like you teach musicology.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Or a wizard here? Like a wizard, maybe?
Welcome to LARPing 201.